Okay, we're going to have a quick look inside this colony. This is has 3 boxes. And last time I was here I gave it a box of wax. So that will be in the middle of the stack. So again, if I come on to the other side, I can lift this up and you can see if there are any swarm cells, and we can also see if they use that middle box. No swarm cells. That's good, because we really want these colonies to get a little bigger first. And I'll just lift this out of the way. Bit of weight in there. And they have used the wax that I gave them last week. And you can see we'll just flip through quickly. This is the outer one. They're drawing this one out. Nice clean comb. A nice clean frame of brood with the wax. Oh, sorry, with honey on the outside, with nectar on the outside.
Okay, they're the larvae and the eggs. So if you get a piece of this and just point at what is what, and I can then...
Okay, so using this handy piece of rush as a pointer, we have this. All this is capped worker brood, and then moving to the outside of that, you can see younger larvae, which are getting nice and fat, and then outside that younger larvae again, which is smaller and at the bottom, and outside that, I don't know where we are now, over here there's some eggs at the bottom of the cells, and they're of course the youngest still. They must have been laid within the last 3 days, and if they're standing up it will be within the last day. Beyond that we have pollen. So it's easy for the larvae to be fed, and outside that is the nectar that hasn't been capped yet. It's just fresh nectar brought in. So this whole comb has been built and laid in and used, and it's all beautiful and fresh and new. But you can see also where the wire is inside. You can see in the pattern of the brood. The queen doesn't really like where the wire has been, so there are gaps in the brood. This is a little older. It's almost all capped now. Lots of gaps in it. This is the sign possibly of an older queen, or the fact that she really doesn't like the wire inside the foundation. So this colony was given a new box just over a week ago. As you can see, it's just been capped, the first of it. So probably no harm to give them another box again while we're here, because sometimes I just don't get round to the bees if the weather isn't good enough. So I'm going to give this colony another box, but because we're well past the longest day, I'm now not going to put it at the second position. I'm going to put it at this position and then put the top box on the top of that again. End.
Yeah.
This is the brood nest in this hive. Takes up this much space in, say, March or April, and then it expands and it's touching the top by June. So you would add a few more boxes. Actually, what I do is put a box in the middle of the brood nest.
So they draw that and put in more brood straight away?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Well, I can show you that later on. But so imagine this is a colony that's with a shrinking brood nest in the end of the summer. Then this is the space that's opening up for the bees to store their winter nectar and their honey in. And so eventually, or towards, say, August, September, October, the nest will all be down here, and everything above it will be honey stores. So it's so simple. It isn't complicated at all. You can just take off the top box, and this is going to be honey. Now, of course, you can check, and if there happens to be any brood in it, well, then you put it down below, and you take a replacement frame out to make a full box of
do you always place an empty one in the middle, roughly, or does it vary? Is there good times to do that?
When the brood nest is expanding, so up until longest day of the year, the brood nest is expanding. So you want to help them by you give them more space in the middle of the brood nest. And then after the middle of June, then the brood nest is shrinking again. So if they need more space, that there may be a honey flow on, and the blackberries just coming in now, and the clover, they'll be bringing lots and lots of nectar, they need lots of space. So you give them another box, but it doesn't have to be at the top, because they will have to bring everything up through the hive.
Much higher.
But if the top is filled with honey already, and they're still processing it, we'll give them a box underneath it. It makes it easier
for them to get at.
And then this one is going to be processed and finished and capped and ready to go, and this can come off whilst the next one is being sorted. We have a bigger colony. This is on 5 boxes, so we'll have another look inside and see what's going on. No swarm cell. So that's a good sign. It means that this colony isn't swarming, but I'm going to check through the boxes and look in this junk swarm cell, and then skip through to make sure that they have enough space. Again, you can see these are dark combs, but we're getting to the new boxes that were put in earlier on in the last few weeks. So I can show you how quickly I assess a hive. Normally it only takes a few moments, because what I'm doing is looking to see whether they have enough space and whether they have any queen cells. So it's very easy to do that just by lifting up one box, a little bit of smoke, and levering it up like a suitcase, and I can see there are no swarm cells underneath. There it goes. Now, no swarm cells. And I can see straight away that they're filling up nicely, but they still have room in here. So that is the end of the inspection. You can see how quick it can be and how quick it needs to be. I'm confident that this colony is fine for another week.
The other question, that I've been using brood chambers in the same way, actually.
Yes.
But I found that the weight was way too heavy. I mean, I could manage it. I mean,
when it's full of honey, it weighs a lot.
50 kilos of honey in the brood chamber, and I found it was back-breaking. Whereas with these hives, I would imagine it'd be much lighter. But why not use supers? Just supers.
Yes, you could easily have a stack of supers, and I often recommend that to people who want to use this system with one size box, but don't want to go for this. There are just a lot more junctions, a lot more joins, so more frames to look through, more possibility of missing a swarm cell or squashing the queen or something. You're moving more frames around.
It's more time consuming.
Yeah.
They look pretty strong.
Well, either this hive is now full of swarm cells, or it needs another box, probably, because last week, well, where are we now? 6 days ago I put this box in above the brood nest, or thereabouts anyway. This was mostly stores, this was mostly brood, so I put another box of foundation in, as you can see, and we're just going to have a look inside, see what we find. But a colony this size can fill up a box in a week, so we'll see how it's getting on.
That is a massive colony.
It is, and I expect it'll either have begun swarm preparation or it'll need another box, and you can see suddenly that really is a big colony, and that's what I'd expect from quite a few of my hives every year. You know, full-size colonies get this big.
And it's to do with the, not restricting the queen.
Yep, that's right.
How many bees would you say are in there?
I mean, they say an ordinary standard brood and a half
of national
will get to 50,000-60,000. So I would say this has to be over 100,000 bees.
Easily, huh?
But we'll see. Maybe, as I say, maybe they've all swarmed away. But we'll have a look. There's a bit more smoke in this one. They've already stung me a little bit just now, so I'm expecting a few stings. So as you see, this is 7 boxes high. I can't go more than 8 because I can't reach that high when they're full. It's always best to borrow a couple of roofs when you're going through a big colony. You've got somewhere to put the boxes. And again, I'm not going to hang around with this unless we're forced into it. If they are swarming, then we'll have to split up their colony. But we'll know that pretty soon. Yep.
No swarm cells in there.
Yep, that's good. No swarm cells. We're just going to get to the fresh box here now and see what they've made of that. But again, we're just checking for queen cells. Again, no queen cells. You can see how full this colony is. So I gave them this box full of new foundation and strips of foundation, and you can see they've drawn it out beautifully, and it's full of nectar. There don't seem to be any queen cells in there, just a lot of bees. So I'm going to give this colony another box, which, if the weather stays good, they could be half filled up by next week. So here's a box going in again above the brood nest, and you can see some are whole sheets and some are strips of foundation. And maybe I'll just show you what they've done with those strips. So I'll just fish out a couple. This is what I'm expecting. We're now in the middle of July. I'm not expecting much brood from now on. But, sorry, there will be brood, but it won't be any expansion of brood. They're having fun. They're building all sorts of combinations. You can see this is all drone cells, and this is drone cells, and in the middle there's worker cells. And it's very clever the way they have to try and mix those up and get them to fit together. But this is the typical shape of a comb, but sometimes it's more loopy than that. And you can see they're heading out for the corners, and eventually they'll fill it all up. This is basically wax. This is comb building going on. You know, they all huddle together to keep the temperature up, so that the ones who produce the wax, they practically sweat it out. They have to be warm. Okay.
So Tim, some people would say that to achieve such a large colony is not possible. What's your views on that? I mean, it's obvious that it is possible,
but obvious, isn't it, that a colony I haven't forced this colony to do anything. It's had an opportunity to swarm all summer, and it hasn't.
You're gonna need a ladder for that.
Well, actually, Dave, would you mind just smoking them?
Yeah, where is the smoker?
It's just down behind my...
Okay, 1 second.
You see, this is the reason I stopped at 8 boxes high. Because I'm just not tall enough or strong enough to put a 9th on the top.